Bill DeBuise, thanks for sticking around for a couple extra minutes to talk about writing.
Oh, you bet.
So this trip, this journey through Nepal, physically demanding, long days. You're also working with a medical team along the way. How in the world do you find the time to write, and what is your process for taking notes, remembering things, kind of deciding where you're going in the writing process?
I always, except when I'm sleeping, when I'm on the trail, I have a notebook, a 3x5 flip notebook in this pocket, and I have a pen that writes in the rain, that writes upside down, that writes no matter what. And so at every rest stop, when I'm walking between rest stops, I'm composing sentences, I'm making mental notes, and then I make my notes, write them down when I stop. And it's always a struggle to, conserve enough juice. Finally, at the end of the day, in my sleeping bag, lying, and writing upside down, to make those final notes for the day. I always have a sense that I haven't done enough, that, that there's more that I should have done. And then I get back from the trip and I turn my notes over to a dear friend, Catherine Baca, who transcribes them and somehow can sort out my horrible writing. And then I work from, that big file of notes.
Okay. Yeah. It's always so interesting to hear people's process and their tools. I always like to know what tools you have.
Yeah, it's really important to have a pen that writes upside down.
Right. So toward the end of your journey in this book, as you're heading down into the world of internet and clean clothing and hot showers, you admit your regrets. And I kind of love this. You write, for instance, that you've tried to pack up what you've learned or think you've learned, but your metaphorical pile is a meager, stingy anthill. Will you please talk to me about that?
Well, as I say in the book, I had walked, I think I calculated something like 300,000 steps or whatever, and exhausted myself. And, we'd been out on the trail for like 5 weeks, and I thought, all I have are some mottos and slogans and a list of little values, but they didn't really connect with me. They were just in my head. And so I really felt I had failed. And then, frankly, the epiphany happened. In the walkout on like the third day before the end, something like that, and I began, and I realized there was that all this stuff could connect, that it did make sense. I don't know whether my downness was a function of just really deep fatigue after 150 miles of walking, or what, but somehow it all made sense in the end, and in the context of re-entering the rest of the world.
And I don't want to give away, because the book is it is a journey, and I don't want to give away kind of the ending and kind of what you come to at the end. But I really appreciated your honesty about sort of the regrets and almost like trying to find that narrative grasp at the end there, because I oftentimes feel like when I read sort of books like that are about a journey and or a quest in some ways, it always feels to me like the writer is so confident that he or she knew all along what was going to happen. And I don't ever feel that way as a writer.
Really? It comes back again to uncertainty. I mean, so many writers want to project an image of knowing and being able to explain everything. And I always sense falseness with that. I think if you embrace your lack of knowing, if you embrace uncertainty, if you talk about doubt with the reader says, oh, this is more like my life. And that's strategically good. in terms of winning the reader over, but it's also just fundamentally truer. You know, we don't have pat answers. We have to struggle to get the answers that we get. And this book is, I had a terrible time selling the book, actually, because I didn't fully know the ending of the book until I wrote it, and so I couldn't sell it because people doubted that I was going to come up with an ending. Well, I did, and I'm very happy with that. And not to give anything away, this is not a cheesy spoiler alert, but the whole learning of the book is embodied in the last 16 words. But to understand what those 16 words stand for, what they mean, to unpack them, you really have to go on the journey of the book. So,
I'm curious how you think you've changed as a writer over the decades.
I think, especially with this book softened me. I think I'm less certain about what I know. I'm less cocky. I'm less glib, I hope, and softer, more open, and consequentially, I hope, a little deeper. I mean, it's the whole journey of all the books has been that kind of road, and with any luck, knock wood, it'll continue for a while.
I hope so. Thank you so much for joining me.
It's a pleasure, Laura. Thank you.